Certainly, first off, thank you for letting us extend this thing out to about 3:45. We had a retirement party that we wanted to accomplish. I'm Major Jeff Cotner. I'm the Executive Officer of the Crimes Against Persons Division, and I've got Sergeant Byron Fassett and Senior Corporal Vidal
Olivares.
I got close. With the Child Exploitation Unit. And we're here to talk about the rearrest of Jose Rico. And then we're very proud of them and the accomplishments that they did, not only in the original investigation on the serial rapist and his apprehension, but certainly when the untimely release, we were able to bring him back yesterday. And he is currently in loose sterret. So without further ado, I'm going to let these guys talk to you in those parameters. Thank you. Go ahead, Byron. You want to just kind of go timeline?
Well, go ahead. I'm
Where
sorry.
in Mexico did you find him?
Can you say your name first for?
Can you step up to the mic first?
Yep. My name's Sergeant Byron Fassett, Dallas Police Department Child Exploitation Squad.
And the last name and spell it?
F as in Frank, A, S as in Sam, S as in Sam, E, T Tom, T Tom.
Where did you find him in Mexico?
We found him in San Luis Potosí.
Can you also say your name, please?
My name is Vidal Olivares. Last name is Olivarez.
Then your title?
I'm a detective.
Detective Sergeant?
Detective, just detective, senior corporal.
Can you go into more detail on the circumstances of his arrest in Mexico? Can you explain how it happened, where you found him?
The issue with that is that we had to obtain what's called a provisional warrant first. That took an extended period of time to do that. It's a very complicated situation where you have to go through the Department of Justice, U.S. Marshal's office, and that took just quite a bit of time. I had some information of his location and simply forwarded that information to the U.S. Marshals, who work with the Mexican authorities to arrest him near his home in San Luis Potosí.
What exactly is he accused of? What's all the charges?
We're looking at 2 aggravated sexual assaults of a child, and also a burglary of a habitation. And there's another sexual offense as well.
When was he arrested in Mexico?
He was arrested July 27th.
So he's been in prison since July 27th, or jail there?
He was in jail in Mexico.
Is that how you became aware of his whereabouts, that he was, or was he arrested on your say so?
No, he was arrested on the provisional warrant, working with the U.S. Marshals.
It took that long to get him up here because of the paperwork?
It took there was some extradition issues, so they had to go through the court system in Mexico.
Why was he deported in the first time if he had such a record?
I don't know. I don't have that information.
Do you think that was a slip up in the bureaucracy? He gets out of jail and he's deported? What do you think about him being deported?
I'll have to.
Well, I mean, what we try to focus on is getting the bad guy off the street. I want to just bring it down to a basic deal. But, we had a guy that was causing havoc in our community. We got him. He got out, and our job is to go back and get him, and that's what we did on that. And so, that's what we try to look at, is just doing that part of the job there.
It seems like him getting bailed out was basically his opportunity to get away, whichever way he did that. But had he not been given a bond, do you think this case would have gone to trial and these families and victims would have gotten their justice 3 years ago?
Well, I mean, what we're going to focus on is the family and the victims will get their opportunity to have justice at this point. He took advantage of an opportunity and he escaped. And, what we're very proud of is not just only the work within the Dallas Police Department, but the entire system. Dallas Police Department, DA's office, our State Department, U.S. Marshal Service. What does my heart good is to watch the system come together. And, regardless of how it happened, the system came together. Righted or wrong, for lack of a better term, and everybody came together, and the families will get their justice at this point.
Detective, did you work on the original case when you apprehended him the first time?
I did.
And that was a pretty good, I'm sure you felt good about that arrest. And I know you guys had nothing to do with the fact that he was deported in the first place. And then to go back and get this guy a second time, how rewarding does that feel for you to make this case a second time?
That's a wonderful feeling. I became very close to one of the victims' families, and when he was initially arrested, I told him that we would get justice from this case. And when he was deported, I had to tell them that he was deported, and now we had to go and get him back. And I promised that I would someday, somehow, try to manage to do that. And we did, and it was a team effort on the part of a lot of detectives, a lot of agencies that had to work together in order to do this. And what I tried to do throughout the 3 years is just keep a spotlight on it and just keep making the phone calls, and everybody working together, and just kept pushing it and pushing it until, you know, somebody says, okay, we got to do something, because this is a really, really serious case. This guy is a serial rapist, and had to be dealt with.
How much personal responsibility did you feel like you took? I mean, how much burden did you feel was on your shoulders this case was, that you had to go get this guy again? Was this like, this was on you, I gotta go do this and make good to this family?
Yes, I took it personally, and I just made that promise that somehow, some way, we were going to get this done. And I'm really, really appreciative of all the agencies that worked together, and a lot of guys put down what they were doing and listened to me and said, hey, yeah, we're going to help you out, we're going to get this done. And they did. It just, you know, I just had to be patient, and it's one of those things that you can't push something like that takes so much time to do. They're having to take documents that are in English and transfer them to Spanish so they can get a provisional warrant to be able to do this, and that's what takes so long. That's a lot of documents that have to be translated.
Was there ever a time when you thought it wasn't gonna happen and you felt like giving up?
There were times when I thought, is this really going to happen? But every time I look at those cases and remember those kids, I had to think to myself, it's just not, I'm not going to let it die. I'm not going to let the spotlight come off this case.
Do you know if he committed any crimes in Mexico?
I'm not aware of any, sir.
Sergeant, perhaps can you speak to maybe how unique is this type of circumstance where someone is deported while working through the system, and how key was it that you had the informants there that helped to give you an idea of where this guy was?
Yeah, as far as uniqueness, I mean, I just think, you know, being the state of Texas, our proximity in the state of Texas, we see this. This isn't the first time we've seen it, and that enables us to work through the bureaucracy of getting them back. So I mean, it's not something that's a regular occurrence, but I wouldn't say it's terribly unique. So we've seen it. Personally, I've seen it 5 or 6 times. So, but to your second part of the question, you know, the reason this worked is, you know, and Detective Oliveira is very modest. He exemplifies what I can speak as a supervisor for the Child Exploitation Unit and for our Crimes Against Children's Unit, what we expect out of the detectives. You know, I always tell detectives, you've got to let these cases touch you personally. And that's a toll, and it's not a job for everybody, but they do a very, very good job on that, and he exemplifies that. Matter of fact, we're going to make him the poster child now for the unit. But you know, what made him able to do that is, and I know it sounds cliche, but it's the entire Dallas Police Department. It's the entire unit, because, you know, when this team was put together, it was all hands on deck. You know, I wish I had time to name all the detectives. Everybody had a part in here. And I can tell you from a supervisory standpoint, it does my heart good when we have these type of cases, whether it's something like this or a child abduction, and everybody comes together. And I think that's what enabled Vidal to have such success, because you had the entire department, you had everybody was vested in this case, you have the entire system working together. And, you know, I mean, I know I can't live in a perfect world, but it's a good time to see it happen, so.
Were you guys in Mexico and brought them up, or did you have the U.S. Marshals do it?
The U.S. Marshals picked him up in Mexico and flew him to Dallas.
And what's his bond now? Does he even have a bond?
It's all insufficient, no bonds.
Now, he came to DFW?
Yes.
Does he have any kind of bond now?
No.
No bond?
You know, since they have $100,000 bonds on people who have immigration hold on them, have you seen this happen since that time? The judges raised those bonds?
Not that I'm aware of.
Guys, I think, one thing I failed to point out earlier, this is Ollie. So I think it's important you put Ollie in there, because that's how he's known in the department. But anyway, we really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you very much.
Can you do Spanish?
Yes, please.
Sure.